David, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, my man?
Thanks for coming on, man.
Appreciate you having me.
So how we usually start the podcast is we ask, what's your name? How many kids do you have and what do you do for a living?
Okay. Well, I'm Dave Ungerer. I got one daughter now.
Congrats.
And play football for the Toronto Argonauts.
So how did you even start playing? Like, when did you know you wanted to play football?
Well, I mean, it's really in my blood because my dad's been a college football coach for like 40 years now.
Cool.
So I was actually born on a game day.
Come on.
Yeah. I was born at 11 o'clock in the morning. My dad had a game that night. He was coaching at the University of Maryland, and they were playing West Virginia that night. And they won. And after the game, you know, they let him come in even though it was past visiting hours, and he brought the game ball to me. So I've literally had a football in my hand since the day I was born.
It was written in the stars?
Yeah. But truly, like, I really wanted to be a hooper.
Okay.
That's really what, you know, growing up, I wanted to, you know, pursue. And that's what I spent a lot of my time and energy towards, was being a basketball player. And long story short, when it was time to make decisions on college, you know, it was either go play junior college basketball or D1 football offer. And after I took my junior college visits, I was like, I think I'm going to take this football scholarship. So
was your dad pumped?
Yeah, he was pumped. And he was there actually the day I got offered. It was at a one-day football camp that University of Idaho was having.
Cool.
I had a good workout that day, and you know, he offered me after the workout. My coach, Paul Petrino, offered me that day, and my dad was there, so that was pretty special to share with him.
Sick.
Yeah.
When did you start playing football? Like, I mean, even just like for fun?
Yeah, I mean, for fun, it was, I mean, from the day I can remember, you know, like, you know, I just always was passionate about the game, you know, but I was really small. You know, I was really, really small as a young kid, so my parents wouldn't even let me play until I got to sixth grade, you know, about 12 years old. So, you know, I had to wait patiently for the opportunity, but yeah. And I was actually, even my freshman year of high school, I was about to stop playing football because I wanted to focus all my time on basketball. And, you know, the coaches and my new friends, we had just moved to a new place, Pullman, Washington, and they kind of convinced me to come out and play a little bit in the summertime. And I was like, all right, you know, I'll play. Cool. So, you know, just kind of ran with it from there.
All right. And then you then played for the Hamilton Ticats?
Yep. I got drafted to Hamilton Ticats in 2019. Spent 3 years with them. And then made my way over to the Argos in 2023.
Was it like a big jump playing like football in the U.S. and then coming to Canada?
It was for me. Like I'll be honest, like I struggled with it. I mean, obviously it's pretty much the same game, but there's a lot of different things going on in the Canadian game than, you know, the game in the U.S. So, you know, it took me really my whole rookie year to transition and become a Canadian receiver. So it was definitely difficult, yeah.
What do you think like the biggest difference would be?
I think for me personally, it was the playbook. Okay. It was really difficult for me to get the playbook. You know, we had a very, from terminology standpoint, basic in college. And then I get up here and it's very, you know, it's very difficult to understand like the different motions, and you know, the play calls are twice as long up here than they would be, at least in a college offense.
Interesting.
So I struggled with that. And then also what you know, I struggled with was I got hurt. I pulled my hamstring on the third day of training camp, and I missed 2 months for that. So, you know, I've always been much more of a learner from doing it.
Yeah.
So not being able to have those reps, you know, I just had to constantly be in the playbook and spend an extra time with my coaches, just trying to make sure I could do the job right. And it made it even more difficult too, because, you know, once I got hurt, they said, hey, when you come back, you got to know everything. You know, when I first arrived, I only had to know one position. But once I got hurt, they're like, hey, you're going to be the sixth guy, so you got to know everything in case someone goes down. So it was just like constantly my head was in the playbook, like just.
How do you prep that? Just by reading it?
Yeah, you read it. You know, once I started getting healthier, I could walk through it, then run through it. You know, I was doing a lot of extra meetings with my receivers coach, just doing anything possible to kind of feel confident in it. And, you know, once I got back from injury, there were moments where I was able to get on the field and get that experience. But it was really tough getting on the field with that team because it was such a great team. You know, it was a historically great team up until the Grey Cup that year. So it was tough getting on the field for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who writes the playbooks?
Usually the offense coordinator.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a little bit of a group effort with the other coaches, but for the most part, the offense coordinator has control over that.
Do they do crazy plays, like cool stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what they love to do. You know, they love to come up with new schemes, new plays, you know, all week, all off season. They're looking at the other team's defense. Hey, what areas can we exploit?
Interesting.
A lot of things you see is, watching the game from the previous week and seeing what plays worked for that offense against the defense, and then you implement a similar play to that. So
will someone watch like last week's footage and be like, all right, the defense here or the offense here is doing something wonky. Let's build a play based on how they're basically playing.
Exactly. That's exactly how to go. Like, I would say probably week by week, there's 5 to 7 plays that pretty much were ran by a team last week that we're now running because it was so successful in the last game.
And then you have to practice that play.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever played, I know you're younger a little bit, but have you ever played NFL Blitz on N64?
Played it a little bit, yeah.
They had a feature where you can build plays and like you design it in the back end, and then when you play, you can upload that
that's sick.
playbook. And I had one where it was like a Hail Mary, but then you can just get them going everywhere.
Right.
It was sick, man.
You're right. That's usually the go-to play for sure.
I love it, dude. Injuries, like you mentioned that you're prone, I guess, in the early stages of getting back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
How do you facilitate that? Like, how do you even get through injuries and being prone to injuries and stuff?
Yeah, it's been a real learning experience for me. Really since college, I had to get surgery in both my feet. Missed a lot of time. I played my freshman year, but missed a couple of games due to some injuries. And then I had to redshirt my sophomore year. I broke my foot on the third play of the game.
How do
first
you do
game of
that?
the season. That one was crazy because, and it's actually something that I'm honestly proud of because I really worked my way into that break. Because what happened was our best player, he was leading the country in receiving that year, but like in camp, he got hurt and missed 2 weeks, pretty much the whole fall camp. And I had to take over his position, and it was just grinding. Like, every play was designed for him. So I'm just going nonstop the whole camp. And, with each day, my foot's kind of, it starts as a stress fracture.
I
broke my fifth metatarsal. So it's on the outside of the foot. And, throughout each day of the camp, I could just feel it. It just kept getting more painful. And I had already dealt with a stress fracture in my left foot my freshman year. So I kind of knew what I was dealing with. And as camp goes, I'm like, all right, like this thing's going to break, But
wow, so you knew.
I knew it was going to break, but I wasn't going to stop because, just where I was mindset-wise, like I didn't want to let my team down. We were already down our best guy. Somebody needs to play this position. I'm trying to earn a starting position. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep going. And there were days where in the morning I'd wake up and I'd be hopping to the shower.
Brutal.
Like it was crazy because the only time I would feel good throughout the day was at practice running.
Adrenaline,
and I think just like getting warm and whatever the case may be. The only time I felt good during that time period was when I was actually running.
Okay.
So, I had a great camp and earned the starting job, but I know my foot's going to break. I'm just like, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And sure enough, the third play of the game, I have an in cut and I break off that foot and it just snaps. And I kind of knew it, but I also was in denial. So we went over the sideline, it's throbbing. I'm like, man, maybe it didn't break. Let me go see.
Yeah.
So the next drive I go out there, and as soon as I start jogging to the huddle, it's like, this thing is broken. So I'm out there in my stance, like, barely able to stay there, like I should have, I actually jumped before the snap because I was hurting so bad.
Oh,
and they should have
man.
called a false start, but they didn't. And then after that, I came out and had to sit out. I got surgery the next day, and then 5 weeks later, I came back to play again, and played well in the game. And then that next week in practice, both my feet were hurting so bad that I had to tell coach, like, Coach, I got a red shirt. Like, can't do this anymore.
Is red shirt code for something?
Yeah, so red shirting is like you take the year off. And so some guys will red shirt for academics. Some guys will red shirt just because, they're not ready to play yet. So, in NCAA, you have 5 years of eligibility.
Okay.
And once you enter into school, that clock is running.
Okay.
And it's nonstop. So whatever happens in those 5 years, that's the time you got. So, like I said, some guys are redshirting for academics. Some guys are redshirting just because they're young. They need to develop. There's guys in front of them that are going to play. There's no need to have a guy waste a year of eligibility. So let's redshirt him. And then some guys redshirt because of injury. So I had to redshirt because of injury. To answer your question, I guess, like, the injury thing has been a real difficult thing because, there's nothing worse in this business than being hurt, not only because obviously you can't do your job,
Yeah.
but things change around you, whether it's the people surrounding you, you people are looking at you different. People are looking at your value differently. People are, you kind of,
Totally.
odd man out type of thing.
What advice would you give to kids or even like college students who are playing football and get injured? Like, what are some things they need to remember to keep going?
I think the number one thing is, like, there's a learning experience that comes from every injury, and, as difficult as every injury that I've dealt with and every game I've had to miss because of injury is difficult to deal with. There's been a great learning experience that's come from that, whether it's about myself, whether it's about the injury itself, whether it's about the journey, whether it's about teaching you about the business. Because like I was saying, things change when you get hurt.
Yeah.
So you get to learn that, it's learning the hard way, but at least you get to learn it. So there's always positive and there's always learning that comes from injury. And then, obviously just do your due diligence, like learn about the injury, learn about what remedies there are for the injury, take as much time as you need because, I think as athletes, we think like we need to be ready right now. We need to go right now. And that just ends up leading to another injury.
Fair enough.
So, just do your due diligence, understand everything's going to be okay, try to learn something from it and do what you can to prevent it from happening again.
Does like your, I don't want to say food routine, but like, do you eat differently when you're injured?
I think you definitely I would say it's easier to be more disciplined when you're hurt.
Okay.
Because, you're doing everything in your power to get back.
Got it.
When you're healthy and everything's going good, yeah, I can have a couple cookies here. I can have a piece of cake here, maybe go get some McDonald's.
All right.
But then once you get hurt, it's like, I got to eat right. I got to sleep right. I got to work out properly. Everything's got to be, you just become kind of paranoid. So,
Yeah.
That's just kind of how it goes.
Are there any players who like throughout the whole season just say, I will not eat like shit and I will eat like, chicken and rice and broccoli kind of vibe?
Absolutely. Like there's always a handful of guys in the locker room that are like, OCD or just like perfectionist, you know, like everything's got to be right. My body's got to be right. My workouts, my stretching, my recovery, my eating. Definitely, you're gonna get a handful of those guys, and you know, those are guys that always, you know, you can look at as leaders.
Cool.
You know, as guys who are kind of, you know, leading by example. You know, and when you see a teammate going about their business and doing everything in their power to be the best that they can be, it motivates you to do the same. So
Cool.
you got to appreciate those guys.
Yeah. When you're injured, and is it normal for like your teammates to like text you and check up on you, or is that not really a thing?
I think it depends on how your relationship is with your teammates, you know, and I think the severity of the injury.
Got it.
You know, I think, you know, if it's just an ankle sprain, I don't think you're going to get many texts about, you know, hey, how you doing, man? You know, that type of stuff. But, you know, if you deal with something as severe as Chad dealt with last year, you know, everyone's, you know, very concerned, you know. So, you know, and I think, like I said, it kind of depends on where you're at in the locker room. You know, are you a guy that everyone respects and appreciates and everybody understands the value you bring to the team? Or are you kind of a guy that's, you know, just there? So,
you mentioned that you were able to have surgery literally the day after your injury. What is that look like, and how do they even get you in so fast?
Yeah, I think I was fortunate because I was going to, you know, a Division I school. We had really good resources. You know, maybe I was just lucky that the doctor was available. I'm not really quite sure how it worked out because I know for a lot of guys, they've had to wait days, maybe even weeks before getting surgery. I think I was just fortunate to be able to get it the next day. But, you know, from what I remember, it was pretty straightforward. Just showing up at the hospital, you know, they put me under, and the next thing I'm waking up next to my head coach and my mom, and, you know, it's just, I think it kind of depends on the situation.
That's pretty cool. A head coach would come. Is that normal?
I don't know. I don't know if it's normal, but I did appreciate that in the moment, my coach being there, and, you know, especially because of how the injury happened, you know, I'm pretty sure he was aware of how it happened because my athletic trainer was like, he was like, damn, like you worked your way into this break, you know? So I think he was aware that like I was aware of the injury, but I kept working through it, and it was something that he respected. And, you know, I think, my work ethic in general, I think he respected. So, you know, he showed up for me, and, you know, I really appreciated that in that moment for sure. It's
pretty amazing, I guess, mentally to get to do your surgery the next day. You don't have to think about like the buildup.
Yeah. I mean, and I definitely didn't have to, you know, dealing with the pain for an extended period of time, taking a bunch of painkillers and stuff like that. So that was great. And the thing I was most happy about was it was still going to give me an opportunity to play that year.
Cool.
You know, I didn't want to have to redshirt, you know. But then, like I said, it got to a point where I just couldn't do it anymore.
Do they still use that term redshirt in like the professional leagues?
Well, it's more of a college thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only in college that you can redshirt, and they even have a gray shirt. So a gray shirt is where, so for me, I was signed in the class of 2024, or excuse me, 2014.
Okay.
And we had a guy, his name's Caden Ellis. He's played in the NFL for, I think he's going into like year 7 now. But I think it has something to do with the amount of scholarships a team is able to give out per year. It's probably changed in recent history. You know, I haven't kept up with college football that much since I left, but if you gray shirt a guy, it's like he was signed to the same class as me, but he didn't show up till January.
I see.
So his clock starts a little bit later. And, you know, I'm not quite sure what all the pros and cons are to each side, but there's different ways to get more scholarships out there, or to get a guy's clock to start a little bit later type of thing.
Cool.
So,
did you Did you get a scholarship to play football?
I did, yeah.
How, like, for me, my dream, not a dream, but one of those like fairy tale dreams was to play like baseball in the States and live on campus kind of
Okay.
vibe. So did you live on campus?
I did, yeah.
How was that experience?
It was cool. I mean, I think it was different for being at the University of Idaho. You know, I can't imagine what it's like. Like for Chad, he went to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That's like football heaven down there. If you go, Quincy Margaret for our team, he played at Georgia. Or you got guys throughout the league who have played at Power 5 schools.
Cool.
And when you get to that stage, I'm sure it's a little bit different. For me, like, University of Idaho was like, when you did Road to Glory in
Okay.
NCAA,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the first offer you get.
I see.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it wasn't glorified like that,
All right.
But the experience itself was awesome. Like in the dorms, the way it was set up, it was like all us football players, all the freshmen lived in the same building, and our rooms were like connected, and like we shared a bathroom. So like we pretty much like there was like 6 or 8 of us all living together.
Cool.
And that was, so much fun.
Yeah.
And the next 4 years I was there, we lived off campus on, at different houses. And, it's just like, for me, I would say like my freshman, sophomore year, I was definitely enjoying the college life, just playing football during the day, enjoying the nightlife, afterwards. And I got in some trouble while I was in school, and that kind of led me to walking the straight and narrow.
Got it.
And, I just kind of had to make some decisions on what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. And, it became very point A to point B after my sophomore year, just to the building, to class, home.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it normal for or do you still talk to your old coaches, or do they ever reach out to you?
I haven't talked to my coaches a lot, I think, I think it's a weird thing about life, and one thing that my upbringing of moving a lot, taught me and my brothers were, you think that when you move somewhere, especially when you're young, you think that those people are going to be your best friends forever, and they're going to be in your life forever. And then you move somewhere else, and within a month, you don't ever speak again, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Life goes on, new people come into your life. People have different value that they bring to your life compared to others. And, it's just, you blink, and then all of a sudden 1, 3, 5, 10 years pass.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but then at the same time, if you ever get to be around those people again, it's like you never left.
Totally.
So there's nothing wrong with it. That's just how life goes.
Yeah.
But if we were in the same room as each other, there'd be nothing but respect and love and admiration for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, did you, what was I going to say? Did moving a lot ever have a big impact on you?
It sure did. Yeah, definitely. There's pros and cons to both sides in everything, there's always 2 sides of the story. But I think from one end, it was great because it allowed my brothers and I to see so much more, experience so much more, different cultures, different atmospheres. I think we have an ability to communicate with anyone and everyone.
Got it.
Just because that's how life was for us. And then, constantly having to learn the skill of making new friends and gaining respect from your peers and all that, especially for myself, like being an athlete and moving to these new places, and everybody's like, who's this new kid? I was so small and stuff too. Like no one ever thought that I, was good until they saw me do my thing and like, oh, okay, this kid can play. And then you gain the respect, and then all of a sudden you got friends and stuff like that, So being an athlete definitely helped me with the moving process.
Got it. Did you move because of your dad?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was just coaching different places?
Yeah. Like I think we moved to like 10 different states before I was in high school.
Wow.
Like 14 total moves before even high school. So, and my parents, they always said like, hey, we want you and your brothers to be able to stay at one high school for your, whole 4 years. You've been moving schools every year. Like, no matter what, we're going to keep you at the same high school. So while I was in high school, my dad worked at like 3 different schools.
Wow.
And just like wasn't really around.
Okay.
He got sick too. So there was a year where he was there, but going through a lot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like there was 3 different schools he worked at while I was in high school, and we just stayed in Pullman, Washington, and my mom took care of us and just kind of made it happen.
How was growing up? You have 2 brothers?
2 brothers, yep.
Cool. How is it just household in general and moving and having your brothers?
Yeah, I think that's another thing about moving was it brought us close, because we just needed each other so much. And, whether it was, we had just moved to a new place and didn't have any friends, or, different life things happen, and it just brought us closer as a family. So I think that's one great thing that came from our experience for sure. My older brother was like, he's the type of guy that, it seemed like every week he had a new hobby.
Yeah.
And we followed him everywhere. At least I did.
Cool.
He's 6 years older than me, so there's a big age gap there. But I looked up to him so much. Whatever he did, I wanted to do. And he moved out. My mom had him with her first husband.
Yeah.
So when he was 16, he moved out to live with his biological dad, and so it became just my little brother and I. And I think there was, as all siblings do, there was a time period where we weren't close.
Yeah.
He found new friends, and I was doing my thing, and that's just kind of how life goes. But then, certain things happen within the family, and then also as he got older, and we kind of had similar interests and did similar things, like that bond, grew back.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely close with my brothers, and very grateful for them.
What do they think about you playing in the CFL?
Oh, they love it. They love it. Yeah, and they're some of my biggest supporters. Like, they're both living in Florida right now, and they tune in every week to watch me.
Dope.
And that means the world to me. So they're just they're 2 great guys, and very grateful for them.
What was it like winning the Grey Cup?
Oh man, it was amazing, man. Like, I think one thing that I've experienced in my football journey is like never getting to experience playing a vital role on a great team. I've either always been the best player on a team that didn't do much winning, or didn't play much on a great team. And it was something that I always wanted so badly, was to play a vital role on a team that won a championship. And to experience that this past year was, it made everything that I've gone through in my football journey worth it, really.
Sick.
It wasn't an easy year. I started the year on the 6-game injured list with my hamstring. And, like I said, there's nothing worse than being hurt in this industry. So that was a tough beginning to the year, but, was able to play in the last 15. And, and then the way that it happened too, with, Chad coming back mid-season, and, it took us a couple games to get our rhythm, and, we look up 12 games into the year and we're 500,
Yeah.
And, it really all changed when we went to BC and got a win on the road. And, our head coach, Ryan Dinwiddie, was like, you know, we're going to be back here. You know, he taped a little toonie to a locker down there.
Yeah.
It's like, when we get back here for the Grey Cup, I'm grabbing my toonie. And sure enough, like, we just caught fire from there. You know, Chad started playing really well. Offensively, we got our stuff together, and you know, it just from there kind of started snowballing. And then, you know, we get to the East Final and end of the third quarter, and Chad breaks his leg, and we're just all sitting there on the field, like, at least for me personally, I'm sitting there like, fuck, like, it's all over. Like, there goes winning a Grey Cup. You know, there goes that extra play. There goes that check. You know, I got a daughter on the way. Like, I could really use that Grey Cup check. You know, it's like, fuck. Like,
I didn't know you guys got, like, you get bonuses when you win.
oh, yeah. Like, you get paid a lot more for winning the Grey Cup than losing it, for sure.
Okay, cool.
So, you know, it's like, damn, like, you know, all the kind of hopes and dreams.
Totally.
And then you see Nick Arbuckle run onto the field. And it's like, okay, we're going to be all right. We'll be fine. And sure enough, like, we were able to do, you know, hold on by a thread in that fourth quarter. And once we won that game, I think everybody in the locker room, like, felt really good. Like, we're gonna go do this thing. And then they had us, you know, 10-point underdogs going into the Grey Cup. And it was like, at that point, you know, we could just be free.
Cool.
You know, there was no pressure. You know, we're going into the game with our backup quarterback. No one expects us to win. Like, let's just go ball. And I think, you know, Nick was a huge part to that too. You know, he's a phenomenal teacher and a phenomenal, you know, leader in his own way. You know, not like a rah, you know, get everybody going type, but just like calm, steady. You know, he talks to us, you know, when we're talking scheme throughout the week, he talks to us like he's talking to his daughters, you know, very like almost like he's teaching a second grade class.
I see. Okay.
You know, so throughout the week, our confidence kept building. And yeah, it was crazy too. The day of the game, we were heading to the stadium and we went the wrong way.
Oh shit.
And we were literally stuck in traffic for like an extra hour plus. So we missed, as a quarterback's receivers, we usually throw routes before our actual warm-up starts. And we pretty much missed that whole thing. So it was like going into the biggest game of the season, it's like our routine's all messed up. And it's like, is it going to be one of those type of days?
How did that even happen? Like, where were you guys saying that you had to drive this far or be stuck in this traffic?
I have no idea how it happened.
Crazy.
There was obviously like a miscommunication and we get up to the area. We're right in front of the stadium, but they still wouldn't let us through.
Who are you playing?
BC. No, sorry. We're playing Winnipeg in BC.
Winnipeg, somebody did something.
There's something there.
Yeah.
And even the head man and our quarterback's coach, they got off the bus and walked to the stadium like they were, you know, part of the fans. And we had to go the back way. Finally made our way there. And, you know, I think we were just in the mentality of like, it don't matter what happens today. Like, we're gonna go get this thing done.
Good for you.
So, you know, and even going into the fourth quarter, it's like, you know, right before that, they had just blocked a punt. Yeah. It was like a 1-point game. Going into the fourth quarter, they blocked a punt, but then the guy pushed our guy from getting the fumble recovery or the block punt, and they called a penalty, and we were able to keep the ball. And it was just like a series of things that happened. That's like, all right, it's just one of those days where like it's ours.
That's
you know.
wild.
And we ran away with it in the fourth, and it's like, damn, we really did it. Like, it's crazy.
So, were you able to take the Grey Cup with you places? Like, how does stuff like that work? Do you have to sign up to be on the lists?
Yeah. So everybody gets a day with the cup, and we made it our baby shower.
Cool.
We had it for our baby shower, and that was really special.
That's
you know,
cool.
It was funny though because the cup was pretty banged up by the time it got to us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think whoever got it before us, you know, was definitely enjoying themselves because by the time I got it, they're like, "Hey, it's delicate. You know, like, you know, don't break it."
Yeah.
So, we had to be kind of cautious with it by the time we got it, but it was still really special.
Kind of like a baby.
Exactly. yeah.
How about your rings?
What-
When do you get your rings?
I believe we get them like the week before our first game.
Which is when?
It is June 6th, I believe.
Graham, we got to go to our first Argos game, man.
Yeah, you got to.
Well, we've never been. I got to go.
Yeah,
That's cool.
It's definitely worth the experience, and I think BMO is one of my favorite places I've gotten to play.
Cool.
Especially the summer games, like when the CNE's there.
Yeah.
It's pretty special to be able to like play a game, win it, and then go outside and there's a big festival going on.
All right.
So I definitely recommend it for sure.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have a good team again this year, so that's always fun to watch.
Look forward to that.
Yeah.
So you have a daughter.
Got a daughter.
Tell me what happened. When did it happen?
Yeah, so it was crazy. Last Tuesday, we went in to do. My wife's name's Kayla.
Yeah.
Kayla went to do her cervical sweep, and within the first 5 minutes of the doc doing it, her water breaks.
Okay.
And she's like, "Oh, this never happened to me before. Water breaking on the table."
The doctor said this?
The doctor said,
What do I do?
Yeah, so we're both of us, we're just like, of course. Like,
Yeah.
of course, this is the first time this happens. So, we think that we're having the baby that night. And we go back, that evening thinking that we're going to have it. And they just tell us, you're coming to just do some monitoring. And we just want to check on the baby. Long story short, they tell us, you guys are in a good spot. You guys can come back in the morning and we'll induce labor. So that's what we chose to do. And so we got there at 9:30 on Wednesday and they induced Kayla. And then, 12 hours, it was a 12-hour process. Like we were there all day. We thought that we were going to have her within the first hour or two. And then all of a sudden it's been 10 hours. And, Kayla was still only 5 centimeters dilated.
Yeah.
So they turn her over on all fours and they're like, hey, let's just see if this, helps the process speed up a little bit. And they checked after 30 minutes and she went from 5 to 9 centimeters.
There you go.
So now all of a sudden it's like, okay, like you're going to be having her, quick, pretty soon here.
Yeah.
The actual labor only took 26 minutes. My wife was an absolute champion through it all. Like she's very good she's got a great pain tolerance. So I think that helped. The epidural helped.
Yeah.
Everything helped. And I think the nurses and doctors were great too. They came in and were so positive and just telling her how great of a job she's doing. So yeah, 26 minutes later, we had our little girl and, spent the whole next day in postpartum and, just ever since then, it's just been like the greatest blessing I could ever ask for, like, I think like the way, like everybody leading up to it told me like, your life changes forever in an instant, like in that moment, everything changes. And like, the thing I'm experiencing is like, it was like in the moment, it was very special. But like with each passing moment, like it's like a little energy ball that just like, just keeps expanding exponentially, like just love that little girl so much.
Amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Did you guys announce it yet? Or
We did, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What's her name?
Drew August.
Amazing.
Well, first name is Drew, middle name is August, so Drew August Ungerer.
I love it.
Yeah.
How's sleep going? You're sleeping? She's sleeping? Mom's sleeping?
We're doing our best, I would say the first week, it's been almost 10 days now. The first week was amazing. Like, Drew was sleeping nonstop, sleeping through the night, eating when she wanted, sleeping when she wanted. And, we thought things were sweet. And then all of a sudden, these last couple of nights, we're experiencing what everybody's been talking about where, it don't matter what you do, she's staying up. And, Kayla's been so great in allowing me to get rest. And then when I wake up, I'll take over for her. And, we're making it work, but we're definitely going through some difficult days right now.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah,
it's usually the case in the early ages, man.
for sure.
Do you have family that are like live beside you to support you
Yeah,
guys?
I mean that's been like the greatest thing about this experience so far, and a big reason why Kayla and I had the conversation and went forward with having a baby, because having the opportunity to be in this area. Her family's from Luke and Exeter, like the London area.
Okay.
So they're only an hour and a half away from us, and then my mom's in St. Catharines,
Okay.
so she's only 35 minutes from us. So and that's something that I didn't get to experience as a kid, like having a lot of family around. Like we hardly ever got to see family, just because we were in the States moving all the time, and it was definitely long periods of time where you didn't see family. So to be able to give that opportunity to not only Drew, but to my family, for my family to get to experience being around Drew, this year is going to be so fun. And, I'm praying that I'll be able to stay in Toronto long term,
For sure.
so it can continue to provide that opportunity.
I hope so too, dude.
Yeah.
That'll be sick.
For sure.
It's Kayla, right?
Yes.
Does she work? Or is she gonna just take time and just obviously be with your daughter? Like, how's the logistics?
She's she's an amazing girl. Kayla is. She worked for an hour during labor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
No days off.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. And then it was like 2 days later, she was back on the computer, doing payroll.
Yeah.
After Drew was born. So I think she's definitely gonna take some time to do mat leave and just be with Drew. But yeah, she enjoys her work and enjoys the people she works with. So I don't see her taking a lot of time off.
True.
But yeah, she's a great worker for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you're getting ready for the season. How does that logistically look like now that you have a daughter? Like, do you see your daughter every day, or are you going to train?
Yeah, it's I think it's just something that I'm gonna have to learn as we go.
Okay.
Like I took the first 3 days to do nothing, just spend time with my girls, and but especially with camp right around the corner, there's days where I gotta leave and make sure I'm training properly, and those first few days of training was tough, just because I just wanted to get back home as fast as possible. But
Where's training?
it's a mix between Toronto, like going to the stadium, and then going to Mississauga. Sometime signed up to a gym in Burlington where we live. So just kind of wherever I can get it in, that's where I'm going. But yeah, this in season, it's going to be tough for sure. I mean, it's just 6 months straight of like day in, day out, even the off days.
Yeah.
Got to make sure that, I'm staying on my recovery, studying film, all that stuff. So it's definitely going to be tough, but, Kayla's so amazing in giving me the flexibility and the freedom to go do that. And, also having the family in the area is going to help, Kayla out, taking care of Drew, and, give me more of a chance to focus on my job. And, I'm definitely fortunate I got the people around me to allow me to do what I do, without having to stress too much.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You should look into getting the meta glasses, man.
Oh yeah?
It's so cool when you can just put them on and hang out with your kid. I've been doing that lately.
Really?
I just record and I'll do bedtime with her.
Okay.
And just keep these memories of first person view.
So you'll put them on while you're with her reading?
Yeah.
And then it records
It
that?
records whatever you see, basically.
So you get to look back on a good dream type
yeah,
of thing.
Man. It's pretty cool. I did that in the early stages with no name glasses, but now Meta came out with Ray-Bans
Okay.
that record.
That's sick.
And it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I'm
'Cause
gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, because they grow so fast.
Right.
Like my girl's 3.5, and it's like, man, you're never gonna get that time again.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we've been seeing that a lot, like, on our Instagram feed of like parents doing the whole like taking a picture at 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, and
Yeah.
it's just crazy to see how big she'll be within a month.
Yeah.
And it's scary because it's like you're trying to enjoy every single moment possible, and not let one slip by. And it's just like, especially with this season coming, right around the corner, there's definitely gonna be some time that I miss.
Yeah.
But thank God we live in the society we do now, where we got all this,
Tech.
we got cameras set up,
Yeah.
we got the FaceTime, Snapchat, whatever you need. So, I'm fortunate for that.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Is this your your parents' first grandchild?
It is. Yep.
That must be special.
It's very special. Very special. Yeah. And that's another reason, that I personally was ready to have a child,
You're young.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
29.
Yeah. That's
So-
a good age, but pretty young for like, I don't know, nowadays.
Yeah, younger than I thought I was going to be having kids,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
I thought I was going to be my dad and not have kids until, 35, 36, whatever the case may be. But, when you meet a special woman, things change.
Totally.
So, and now that we're in it, like, I'm so grateful that we are having kids so young,
Yeah.
because for instance, like, my dad, he's turning 69 this year, and my mom's going to be turning 64.
Yeah.
So, they're on the older side of having such young grandkids, but for Kayla and I, we'll be a little bit younger when we're having grandkids.
For
so
sure.
a little bit of energy still in the tank. So
That's important.
yeah, definitely. But it was definitely like one of the reasons I wanted to have a kid was, I felt like both of my parents were at stages in their life where like they could use a new chapter. They could use like a burst of energy, a breath of fresh air, however you want to term it, and
This will do it.
this will do it, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
For sure.
And there are some stats that say like having grandchildren will make you live longer.
Is that right?
Yeah, there are. I swear to you, because
Yeah.
you're so you feel you have purpose.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's pretty.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
that's exactly what I was hoping for. And, my mom's had the opportunity to be with Drew a couple times now, and, I can just see it in her,
Yeah.
this burst of energy and just, this emotion and, just like you said, a purpose. So it's a beautiful thing.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
How long what's the lifeline of people playing professional football?
I think statistically it's like on average 2 to 3 years.
What?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Come on.
I swear.
And Tom Brady's like, how many
Right.
seasons did he play?
Right. Well, that's why he's the GOAT.
2 to 3 years.
2 to 3.
Come
I
on.
swear. Yeah.
What do you do after?
That's a really good question. I'm still trying to figure it out. I think, that's one of the beautiful things about football and being in a locker room is the different array of personalities and different ways of going about life, and, there's some guys in our locker room that they know exactly what they're doing when they're done playing,
Got it.
and even while they're playing right now, football might not even be their main thing. It's just something that they're really gifted at. They love doing, and it gives them, some money to work with.
Got it.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I was just saying, what's the lifeline of someone playing professional football? And then you said 2 to 3 years. It's like
Yeah.
it ends before it even begins.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like for me personally, like the only thing I really know is ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I thought going into college, my mindset was, hey, like I'm going to enjoy playing college ball. I would assume that something's going to come along the journey that's going to spark my interest, and I'll run with that. And it still hasn't happened. So,
Okay.
I'm playing ball for as long as possible.
Amazing.
And hopefully I'll figure it out,
Anyone ever tell you look like Steph Curry? Yes? Did you get it?
My wife is going to love you saying
I'm
that.
telling
She's
you,
gonna
dude.
love you saying that. She says it all the time, like, nah. But
It's like I'm sitting next to the guy. Hey,
but she's gonna love that.
man. What's your favorite football movie?
Oh, that's a great question. There's so many good ones.
You can give me top 3 if it
Top 3?
helps.
Friday Night Lights would definitely be in there.
Okay.
Remember the Titans has to be in there. I heard Chad say Longest Yard. That's a great choice. What was the one with Mark Wahlberg? Mr. Invincible, I think.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that's a great one. He's just like a Philly kid, like, just living his life, but he's like a freaky athlete, and Eagles have like an open tryout, and he's been a lifelong Eagles fan, obviously, and he goes and does the open tryout and makes the team, and like actually ends up playing for the Eagles for like numerous years.
Is this a true story based on
true story?
I
For
gotta
sure.
watch it.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I'm surprised no one ever says Rudy, and I told that to
Rudy
Chad.
is a great one. Rudy is a great one. Yeah,
especially because like he faced so many like barriers and kept being persistent, and, and he did it.
Or you could even say like a Radio.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Now that we're saying it, like there's
nice
more good football
handful.
movies than I thought there would be. So yeah, I'm interested to see what this new one's like that Jordan Peele did.
Did not.
Yeah, it's like I think Jordan Peele is more of like a horror, like kind of different vibe, but it's a football movie, so
Cool.
we're gonna have to check it out.
Yeah. If you can have dinner with 3 people, who would it be?
Dinner with 3 people.
And like, let's pick like not obviously family or friends. We'll pick like,
Okay,
celebrities, athletes.
Yeah. I'd say the first, I'd probably put J. Cole in there.
Okay.
Football, like I'd probably put like a Julian Edelman or a Cole Beasley in there, just because those are 2 guys that I really looked up to a lot, and would have a lot to talk to them about.
Cool.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna throw like a Denzel Washington in there.
Damn. Okay, like Training Day, Denzel Washington.
Like Man on Fire.
Okay,
Denzel Washington.
that was a sick movie.
I just watched it on the plane the other day, and like it's like the 3rd time I watched it, and it had me crying again. Like,
cool.
It's a hell of a movie. So
yeah.
Something like that. That would be a good trio.
Sick.
Yeah.
If you can be in any movie, which one would it be?
Oh my goodness. Any movie. It'd have to be like an American Gangster, or like if I want to go funny, it'd probably have to be like a Semi-Pro or something like that.
Cool.
Something like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movies out there that I would like to play in for
That's
sure.
pretty dope, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
What do we got time? We got a few minutes, Graham? What do you do on your off time?
Man, I mean, now it's just being a father, but I mean,
yeah, I guess you're right. There's no more off time.
Yeah.
What did you used to? But
I mean, to be honest, I'm a very point A to point B individual.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, in this moment, like I'm trying to soak every bit of this football thing, every drop I can get out of it, I'm trying to get,
amazing.
I'm, like I said, I'm 29 now. I've played 5 years. If I could play another 5, that would be ideal.
So you already passed that 2-3 year mark. Long time.
I did, yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
dude.
you. No, I mean,
congrats.
it's been an amazing journey for sure, but I know I got a lot left in the tank. So, but I also have to make sure I'm doing the right things in order to make sure that happens. So, I'm very point A to point B. I'm to the stadium or to the gym and back home. My lady and I, we watch a lot of reality TV.
Oh yeah, what's your go-to?
Oh man, there's the Love Islands,
Okay.
The Trust is a good one. Perfect Match, all those shows, all the cooking shows. love a Gordon Ramsay show.
I love Gordon Ramsay.
He's the man.
He's serious
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. We've been on the Master Chefs, the Hell's Kitchens, all of it.
You got to check out the Kitchen Nightmares.
That's a great
Yeah,
one too,
yeah.
for sure. I don't understand how that even happens.
Yeah.
Like, that people will allow their personal business to get that messy.
It's wild.
Yeah, it really is. And then what he can do in 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. But it's always interesting. Like what we like to do is, when we get done watching one of those episodes, like look to see where the restaurant's at now.
Oh, that's smart.
Because
That's
like
cool.
the thing about it is like, it don't matter if he fixed your restaurant in 12 hours.
If you're going to
the
fuck it
people
up.
if the people don't change,
Yeah, that's
then
true.
it's going to end up in the same position.
Totally.
So it's just like, I almost feel bad for Gordon because he got to go do all this work for these group of people that are probably going to go do the same thing that they were doing before.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reality TV, we enjoy it for sure.
It's funny. Nobody knows this. I used to get paid. I used to work for this like record label, but they're also like a video production company.
Okay.
I used to get paid to watch Gordon Ramsay Kitchen Nightmares.
Oh,
'cause
really?
we had the license and to make sure there was no glitches in the film.
Oh, wow.
So I like watched every single
That's a
one.
hell of a job.
Yeah. It was like when I was like 19.
That's awesome.
It was pretty sweet.
I would take that job for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Pump up songs. What's your go-to?
I mean, pump up songs are nowadays just get me ready for games.
Yeah.
So it would have to be, anything Boss Man D-Lo, that's gonna get you going. A lot of Lil Wayne.
Okay.
Dreams and Nightmares from Meek Mill is just like, that's like basically, the poster boy, the definition of a pump up song.
Yeah.
Any like hard rap is gonna get you going.
You players love the rap.
Yeah.
All athletes just love the rap.
It's our culture, man.
Okay.
Like, it's our culture. Like, from the moment you become an athlete, like,
Cool.
it is what it is, So
That's pretty dope.
yeah.
Shit, man. What was I gonna ask you? Places to eat in Burlington, I guess. Where do you go to places?
Yeah. I mean, we went to a restaurant called Spencer's.
Cool.
High end, but very good. Very good. The Works, if you want a good burger.
Yeah, I've tried them.
We haven't done a lot of going out and eating though, I'll be honest. Like my wife's a very good cook.
Amazing.
So, we usually just kind of make it at home. We got the air fryer this year.
That's an accessory
yeah,
for sure.
that can take care of all worries you have.
Yeah.
So, there's some good spots. I would love to experience Toronto food more too.
Yeah.
It's
Do
just
you?
not a ton. Like whatever's in the kind of Liberty Village area, whatever's
okay.
close to the stadium.
Because you're point A to point B.
Yeah,
you're not
like-
stopping, making no stop.
Yeah, especially Toronto, man. Like
Yeah.
I've
be
never
s-
been a big city person,
Yeah.
and this is a big city,
Yeah.
and like I don't like getting lost in it.
Fair enough.
So,
And in traffic.
yeah, that's what I love about BMO. It's right on the outskirts.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
I don't have to deal with going into the city that much. So, just kind of that's my taste.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wrap it up. Usually how we wrap the podcast, I'll ask you two questions. The first one is, if you can have anyone perform at your wedding, who would it be?
Well, our wedding, it'd have to be Jessie Reyes. Shout out to Jessie too, like Toronto girl. Used to dance for the A team.
Cool.
For the Argonauts. Like, I think we should do some sort of collab to get Jessie back around the Argos.
Jesse, if you're watching
Please,
this.
like, we love you. We're coming to see you December 5th. That's Kayla and I's anniversary, actually.
All right.
Which is pretty crazy. She's been our favorite artist since we became a couple, So we love Jessie Reyes. She'd probably be the one performing at our wedding.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen. Let's
Yeah,
go.
please, Jesse.
Social
We'd
media, let's
love
do
to
its
see
thing.
you.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
And if you can have anyone from your circle be on this podcast, who would it be?
I was looking forward to this question because, like, our locker room, not only do we have great guys in our locker room, but we have some phenomenal fathers in our locker room. Like guys that you could do this podcast with for 3-4 hours,
Sick.
you know, just based off of their life story, football story, father story, you know. You know, I would love to go down the list of our team that, you know, would be great guys to have on this pod. You know, I'll keep it short though. Like, I guess I should start my receiving room. You know, my two boys, DeVaris Daniels and DeMonte Coxey, you know, both have phenomenal stories. You know, one story, DeVaris, whose dad played in the NFL for 10 plus seasons. And then you got Coxey, who, you know, has lost his father due to unfortunate circumstances and has became a great father in his own right. Amazing. And they're both great football players.
Amazing.
You know, I think you gotta have Nick Arbuckle on here. He's the ultimate girl dad. The ultimate girl dad.
Set it up.
Yeah, he'd be a great interview.
Put in the word for us.
I will.
Yeah.
I know he would love to come here and talk about his family and ball. You know.
Oh,
so,
dope.
Yeah, those are three guys. You know, Mr. Great Business himself, Wynton McManus. That would be a phenomenal interview. You know, he's got 2 kids and phenomenal story. You know, I could go on and on about guys in our locker room that, you know, would be great guests on this place.
I'll be booked until next year if they're down to do it.
Definitely. You just
sick.
keep going down the list in our locker room. We got great dads in our room for sure.
I'm throwing it out there, it's just random. How hard is it logistically? And I'm talking shit.
Mm-hmm.
If I said, we want to record the podcast in the stadium one day, is that like impossible or is that possible?
I'm sure it's possible.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's possible. I mean, sometimes, you know, you can deal with some people who are like stingy about those things.
True.
But I don't see why it couldn't make it happen.
Who would you talk to? Like, who is the person?
That's a good question.
Not to throw you in the spot. I was just,
Yeah.
I watched a lot of YouTube stuff and I saw a lot of filming happening on the field. I'm like, that's sick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of that is our own like media team.
Got it.
But I'm sure it wouldn't be very difficult to set up.
We'll find a way.
We'll get you in touch with the right people.
Yeah.
For sure.
David, man, I appreciate you coming here, man. This was so awesome. One of the fastest bookings, dude. I just messaged you. You want to come on? And it like, you know, you agreed right away. And I appreciate, you know, someone like you coming and doing this.
No, I really appreciate you having me. It's been an honor being here. And, you know, now that I'm a dad, you know, I'll take any opportunity to talk about my little girl.
Yeah.
So.
Welcome to the club officially.
No, I really appreciate you having me.
And we'll definitely have to have you back like in a year to see how you're doing.
That'd be awesome.
Being a dad and everything, man.
That'd be awesome for sure.
So congrats and send our regards to your wife.
I will.
Go team mom. And we'll see you on the field.
I appreciate that.
Thanks again, buddy.
Thank you.
Shout out to Graham and Toronto Podcast studio here.
Appreciate you, Graham.
David, man.